bus the whole way over there. I don't have to have this other.
Oh, you just wanted to get your coffee
This is
on the way in.
lavender.
Pardon?
They have
Oh,
the
that's
lavender. I love the lavender latte.
I saw this, I came in.
Yeah. I tried to find an app, you know, because usually they want you to order stuff on the app. I found Common Grounds app, but the only locations were in Texas. So never mind. It's not going to work.
You can still order, but somebody else will get your tray.
All right.
When are you leaving?
This afternoon.
Oh, okay.
I think our flights are about the same time.
Yeah.
Do you need a ride?
No, I was gonna. I think.
Yeah, I have a car, so
Nice
we're
enough
good.
to.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
Everything okay in Kansas? Since you're not in Kansas anymore.
My wife's juggling the creatures we have. I was telling you, I have three. She's just been juggling them, so she's waiting for me to get home and
Hand them over to you.
hand them over to me.
And one's a kind of a hospice thing, right?
Yeah, well, he's 19. He's still.
He's still going.
He just doesn't have any mobility on his legs. So, but you know, other than that.
Other than the cat's using him as a pillow.
Oh, wow, 10 o'clock already.
Yeah.
You know, it's very hard.
Come on. Everybody's up at the back.
It sounds great. Henry, what happened to man? Our outreach didn't work?
I reached out to a couple of different departments and things.
Is this your first time back to
Let's
NC
get started.
State since you were here?
Since 1999. This was the last time I came to work with Professor Ozisik, and since then I have never been here anymore.
Oh, well, quite a change.
Yes,
Back
yes,
then
yes.
it was just in
Oh,
Bardon Hall
oh my
over there.
gosh.
It's a new, yeah, totally new.
Old campus is pretty.
Wow. All
Go ahead.
but I went there.
Take a look around there. Well, even that has changed down there because they got rid of that Harrelson Hall.
The
Oh, yeah,
mathematics. Yeah. Yeah, we noticed that. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
You've been back to
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Let's get started. I think
Off times. Yeah.
That's great.
a lot of people on online too, so we don't want to
Okay.
wait on this. We're expecting a little bit more students here, but we'll get going. Welcome to the Dr. M. Necati Ozisik Distinguished Lecture for this year. Before I get started and introduce the speaker, I want Dr. Hakan Ozisik to say a few things about Dr. Ozisik.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This is year number 4 of the lecture, so it's really been a fantastic opportunity. We have 3 lecture series in the colleges, and it's an excellent opportunity to just be able to see some of the best people in the world and have a chance to interact. So please ask questions and come by and talk to our distinguished guests afterwards. And this is the 4th year, and we're actually now fully endowed, so this will continue on for perpetuity, so that's great. I just want to talk a little bit about the impetus and how this all got started. I don't think I've done that before. Originally, when my father passed in 2008, the plan was to do something, but there really wasn't anything that seemed very meaningful at the time, I should say, connected with the university. And then in 2022, during a Hall of Fame ceremony there, I had a chance to talk to a number of people who knew my father, but some of them had him for courses, some of them just knew him passing. And I was really surprised and touched by the number of people he actually affected. I had no idea, which is pretty much how he worked. I mean, he really sort of led by example, and his influence, and that just goes to show, it's not necessarily the position you hold that people care about, but it's really what they see you do, and a lot of times you don't even know how you impact and influence people, and that clearly was the case. And that was the reason for starting the lecture. We started in 22. Again, we've had 3 other guests. One was a former student. I guess you can look at the bio. He has a number of books and publications, and those are all, that was not in any intent for competition. That's just what he loved to do. He loved doing that, writing the papers. And he loved to do that with his students. I know Helcio has a number of papers with him. Dr. Orlande, actually, he was Helcio at the time, back when I knew him. And he also has some books, I think 3 of which Helcio is involved with, The Finite Difference in an Inverse Problem, first and second edition. So that's really fantastic. And Helcio and I actually, Dr. Orlande and I were kind of in transition. I was in Broughton in 90, and he had just come in at that time, so we kind of crossed paths. But my father always used to speak extremely highly of him, and the fact that he asked him to help him write a book is not something that he would ask anybody to do, and that tells you how much high regard he had for him. So with that, I want to hand it over to Dr. Ekad for the formal introduction, and thank you.
Thank you, Hakan. And these are the kind of endowed lectures that we're excited to have. We have 3 of those in the department, and each of them tackles a typical mechanical or aerospace engineering topic. So, and like Hakan said, this is the 4th one, and we are excited because we are alternating Dr. Ozisik students, if you want to say that. Dr. Helcio Orlande is our speaker today. Born in Rio in 1965. He obtained his mechanical degree in 87 undergraduate and 89 masters, and then he came to NC State, and then he's been here for 4 years, got his Ph.D. in 93, and then he went back to Brazil to teach at the same university as UFRJ, which is Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, which is phenomenal. If you're ever on Rio, you should visit that campus. A lot of history there. Where he was department head, 2006-2007. His areas, as the topic suggests, is inverse heat transfer and mass transfer problems using numerical, analytical, and hybrid numerical analytical methods. He's a co-author of 5 books, 2 patents, and more than 400 papers. He's a member of the Scientific Council and of the Executive Committee of International Center for Heat and Mass Transfer, which is a big organization across all the continents, and the vice president of the Assembly for International Heat Transfer Conferences. I can tell you that I had not met Dr. Orlande before I went to Brazil in September last year, and I was introduced to him. And I knew the name, but I never knew the person. So I got talking to him, and he showed me his lab and all his work. And he told me how much he appreciated NC State, and I said, "Are you interested in coming back?" And that's how this conversation started. And I'm glad that he accepted our invitation and is here to give a talk and also show it's been last 4 days, he's been getting a great glimpse of NC State, what it has become from compared to what it was in 93. So he's pretty excited to be here. And especially what he told me was he loved the greenery in here in Raleigh area, which has been maintained in spite of the growth. So I'll give it to Dr. Orlande.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Can you hear me well? Okay. Oh, first of all, thank you very much, Dr. Hakan Ozisik. Thank you very much, Dr. Necati. I really don't have enough words to demonstrate my appreciation for being back here today to present this talk in honor of Professor Ozisik, because the only reason that I have been in NC State in Raleigh, and I mean, since the beginning, it was because of him. You know, I came to for my PhD studies with him, and all the other times that I came back was to work with him. So coming back now, 26 years after the last time, to present this lecture in his honor, it's really touching to me. As you see, I'm still from the time that the NC State logo was the bell tower, and I'm sorry for the marketing people, but I like this one better. So I looked for it in the internet, I put it there. And it's also a great honor for me to, to be the fourth in this role after, so distinguished speaker, Yogesh Jaluria, Renato Cotta, and Snivras Garimella. And I apologize to Professor Yogesh Jaluria that I'm going to speak again about inverse problems. And this of course deserves a justification. And so let's start with this justification. The first one is that the work of Professor Ozisik on inverse problems dates back to the 70s with these papers with Charles Siewert and M.N. It's a 2-page paper and with an analytical solution for an inverse problem related to the radiative transfer equation and an analytical solution as he liked to do. And also a very important point is that his second most cited paper, still with 439 citations in Scopus these days, it's on inverse problems. This paper was written while I was here. He used to spend part of his summer in Europe, and at that time I remember that he went to visit Jean-Pierre Bardon in Nantes. And he wrote, they wrote this paper together with Yvon Jarny. I have worked with Yvon Jarny as well. And this is a masterpiece for inverse problems, I think, because this is like they formalized in a very straightforward way. This like the way that Professor Ozisik always fought, in a very straightforward way. A very complicated inverse problem technique that was developed by Dina Lifanov and his group in the Moscow Aviation Institute. So this is really a very, very nice paper. And to continue the justification, I had the privilege of being here, of being his student from 1990 until 93, when he was most active on the solution of inverse problems. Like almost half of the papers, more than half of the papers that he had published after 1990 was on inverse problems. And let me mention that it was not only me, like there were other Ph.D. students and postdocs at the time working on inverse problems as well. And this, I got here the names of the people in that period. Of course, he has worked with other people on inverse problems at other times. So we have Huang, Silvaneto, Chen, Sawaf, Alnajan, Jason Bolker, and Aparecido, who was a Brazilian postdoc that came to work with him after I went back to Brazil. And I was in Broughton Hall. This is a picture that was taken really at that time. Like 1 or 2 weeks after I got here, I took this picture to send to my parents. These are my ideas, my student ideas. There you can see the D.H. Hill Library card, where we put money to make copies of the papers. In a way, there were no credit cards. The students didn't have credit cards. So there was a machine that you actually put money on, cash into, to get credits on this card to use on the copying machines. And there we have, I also found my idea from the times that I have been here working with him after I graduated, and we were writing the book. And there you also have the idea of my wife. While I was here, my wife was supported by the Brazilian government. She got her master's in forestry. And so we both graduated in 93. And this picture was taken in our farewell party. So Professor Ozisik, Miss Gu, they went to, we invited them, and they very kindly went there to our party, which was in the King Village, which was the housing complex for graduate students. It's near the West Campus. So, yeah, of course. Yeah, no, we went back to our old pictures, and I was very glad that I found your one there too, Hakan. Oh, okay. So now coming to the to the subject of this talk, this is a brief summary. I'm going to present the motivation, my lines of action related to inverse problems in bioheat transfer. I'm going to briefly introduce you to what is called the proton resonance frequency shift magnetic resonance thermometry. The acronym is PRF shift or PRFS. And present a work that is currently going on. It's the Ph.D. Research of one of my students, which is related to the mitigation of artifacts caused by the intrusive radio frequency electrodes during thermal ablation when we try to image the temperatures during this thermal treatment. And eventually we'll bring some concluding remarks. So we have dealt with different inverse bioheat transfer problems, but my main motivation for personal reasons for about 15 years has been the thermal treatments of cancer. These thermal treatments, they have, people have classified them in two kinds. Like one of them is hyperthermia. And this is when mild temperature increases to temperatures around 41 to 45 degrees are used to make tumors more vulnerable to other kinds of treatment. And when heat is solely used to cause thermal damage to the cells, people call this a thermal ablation. Okay. And this is with higher temperatures that cause the direct cell necrosis due to protein denaturation. And thermal ablation is currently available worldwide today for the treatment of tumors in different organs. And heating can also be provided by different energy sources like lasers, radio frequency electrodes, etc. It has also been our motivation to the study of the thermal ablation related to the treatment of cardiac arrhythmia. These figures, they correspond to different time instants where we have two waves. This is all numerical simulations, okay? So we have two waves of electrical waves propagating through the heart muscle. And when they encounter this yellow square region with electrophysiological properties different from those of the original heart muscle, the waves kind of get delayed, you see, and they may create a rotor, actually with the back propagation of the wave. And if this continues, you know, it causes an irregular heartbeat, and it may even bring the person to a cardiac arrest. Okay. So, but the nice thing is that, like, for example, if even with a very small thermal damage in the region, which is shown there by those red lines, okay, you can avoid this back propagation of the wave and then control the cardiac arrhythmia. Okay? And the thing is that doctors they do that very, very much empirically. So there are some people really studying this to kind of optimize the treatment. Okay, and also these thermal treatments of cancer, they started being of interest worldwide because of the development of nanoparticles, because they can be designed in terms of their shape, their sizes, and also the materials to become resonant at some specific wavelengths that, for example, that our tissues might be more transparent and to the external energy source, and then we can concentrate the energy delivered in the tumor to actually kill the tumor cells and trying to avoid the damage to the surrounding healthy cells. Okay, and another important point is that these nanoparticles, they extravasate from the blood vessels. When they extravasate from the blood vessels, they penetrate into the tumor by diffusion, and then they are taken by the cells through endocytosis. And we have shown that the diffusion of the nanoparticles into the tumor, it increases with the temperature, with the hyperthermia. Okay, so these are experiments that were done in Florida International University some time ago, and we estimated the diffusion coefficients of that. But on the left, you have the figures of cuts of a spheroid, okay, that was maintained inside a cell culture medium at 37 degrees, okay? And on the right is exactly the same thing, but the culture medium was at 43 degrees. And the fluorescent light shows that on the left, the nanoparticles were more concentrated near the surface of the spheroids. Okay. While on the right, since the light is more diffuse, the nanoparticles, they actually have diffused inside the tumor. So why inverse problems are important for those thermal treatments? Because like any other cancer treatment, it requires planning, it requires control, so it requires mathematical modeling. Mathematical models contain many uncertain parameters, uncertain input parameters, and those input parameters, they vary from individual to another individual. They also vary for the same individual under different physiological conditions. At the same time, there are different kinds of Bioheat transfer models. And recently, it has techniques for the measurement of the internal body temperature have been developed, like magnetic resonance and also photoacoustics. So we have models, we have uncertain parameters, and we also have measurements. So this is the right framework for the application of inverse problems that can be used for model selection and also at the same time for model calibration. And we have been, for the last 20 years, we have always solved the inverse problems within the Bayesian framework of statistics, where the inverse problem solution is obtained as inference on what is called the posterior distribution. So this posterior distribution is the conditional probability density of the parameters P given the measurements Y, okay? And it's related to the likelihood, which is the conditional probability of the measurements Y given the parameters P, and to the prior information about the parameters through Bayes' theorem. Okay? So the mathematical model, I mean, the physics that we can imagine for the problem under study, okay, is here, okay, in the likelihood, and the prior information is like a statistical model for all the information that we know, that we might know about the unknown parameters before the measurements are taken. Okay, so this is very convenient for us as engineers to work within the Bayesian framework. You know. It might not be so easy for economists because you never know the prior information that you have for the day. You know, you can imagine like we are facing this nowadays. We never know what is the prior for the day and how the oil prices will go up or will go down. So, but for us, for engineers, that we have all the physical concepts, this is really a very good source of information to obtain more information for the solution of the inverse problem. Okay. All right, so our lines of action have been itemized there. We have dealt with indirect temperature measurements through the solution of state estimation problems with an intrusive sensor, and also the non-intrusive magnetic resonance and photoacoustics techniques for temperature measurements. We have done a model selection and model calibration related to the thermal damage to tissues and also to chemotherapy, in vitro experiments. We have played with the development of nanoparticles together with people in our materials department. And we have done validation of those other inverse problem techniques by using experiments with diode laser heating of phantoms or nanofluids. We have also used the Markov chain Monte Carlo techniques to evaluate uncertainties, estimate parameters and evaluate uncertainties in decoupled hyperthermic chemotherapy treatment. And also the design under uncertainty of the thermal treatment now for the cardiac arrhythmia, for the laser ablation, and also for HIFO, which stands for high intensity focused ultrasound ablation. So some examples are here, like we have a realistic geometry with a tumor in the pancreas, and with one single sensor, we can recover the temperature in the region, and as shown in this figure on the right. We have, for model selection and model calibration, we have applied this classical algorithm of approximate Bayesian computation, where we start with competing models, and as the populations generated by this algorithm evolve, we hope to eventually get to the right model with the right parameters, and this was applied to the actual removal of the tissue by a laser heat source. As for the development of nanoparticles, we started with iron oxide nanoparticles, and we have a figure of this phantom in the left, and on the right, together with a very good friend from the Department of Material Science, Dilson Santos, they developed the palladium nanocubes and also hydrides of palladium nanocubes. And so we did some inverse problems, but I brought this figure, which is very interesting, because this is simply the thermal response of the nanofluid inside. I don't have a pointer. I'm sorry. Inside the well, no? And we can see that in red it's like pure distilled water, and so almost no temperature increase. But with the nanoparticles, the temperature increase is much larger, and in particular in this case when the nanoparticles were in the kind of hydrides. Okay. We also did some Monte Carlo simulations for this combined hyperthermic chemotherapy treatment by following all the protocol for in vitro studies. So on the right there, we have the estimation of parameters. And on the left here, on the bottom, we see the heating with the laser, and it's interesting because even these wells, they are very small, but the laser still causes some natural current, natural convection currents, which are actually important for and need to be taken into account. Okay? And in this final example, it's we designed the high intensity focused ultrasound treatment for a tumor in the muscle below the skin and below skin and fatty tissues. And over there we have the transducer and like all the variables like the transducer position and heating time and heating pulse time and everything was designed by Markov chain Monte Carlo stochastic simulations. And on the right we have the probability of getting the thermal damage to the cells inside the tumor in the transition region and in the region containing the healthy tissues. And this was all specified by some probability distribution function. Okay, so now coming more specifically to the subject of this talk about the PRF shift magnetic resonance thermometry. This method was developed by Ishihara and his authors in 1995. And it allows for the observation of transient temperature variations in 3 dimensions in real time. It's non-intrusive, and it also does not have any ionizing radiation. And it's based on the fact that this chemical shift difference is proportional, is a linear function of the temperature variation. And this applies for many tissues except for fat, okay? So the same line that adjusts all this experimental data for like in vitro tissues and also there for like the brain tissue of a cat, they go down to one single constant, okay? And this chemical shift is actually is caused by the electron shielding of the that modifies the magnetic field that is experienced by the atomic nuclei during the magnetic resonance imaging. Okay, so and with that, you know, they came up with this very simple expression that relates the temperature variation, okay, to a phase variation, okay, and in the denominator there we have some parameters that are set up in the magnetic resonance machine, okay. Like gamma, B0, and TE, and alpha is exactly that, is the inclination of that line that I have shown you before, okay? So for this kind of measurement, you know, you usually get two sets of data. One is the magnitude, okay, and you get the phase. We have the second figure there. And from the phase, from the transient phase, we can see that you subtract the reference phase, and then we get this phase difference, and then we get the picture of the temperature variation. Okay. The bad thing is that, as it's shown here, for at least for the cases that we have the experimental data, we only have this data comes in voxels as mean values with the voxels centered on slices, okay? And we have there in 25 millimeters, we only have 8 slices. So like this, the voxels, they are big, and the measurements, they actually represent mean values inside the voxels. They are not point values, okay? So in our contributions, first, in the past, we used this equation, this classical equation as an observation model for the solution of a state estimation problem, which allowed us to estimate the temperature itself instead of only the temperature variation. And it also allowed us to increase the resolution of the measurements. And now we have applying the inverse heat transfer problems to mitigate what is called the device artifact, okay? During the radio frequency thermal ablation, and the objective, as I'm going to show, is to estimate the temperature near the heating electrode, where the regular magnetic resonance thermometry, the PRFF's thermometry, does not provide reliable data. Okay, and this work is done by my PhD student Siewert Dantas. He's co-advised by Valérie Ozen and Jean-Luc Batailledier from the University of Bordeaux, and Leonardo Varon. He's a former PhD student now in Colombia. Okay, so this device artifact, it's caused by susceptibility differences that within the medium that near the catheter with the electrode that is used for the radio frequency thermal ablation. And you see over there inside that region, inside the region bounded by the purple rectangle, there is a void in the signal, okay? And unfortunately, this is the region where the highest temperatures take place. And so this is the region where we should be controlling most, and the need for observation is most important. No? But we don't see anything because of this artifact that is created in the thermometry imaging. Over there on the top is the same figure as before. It's the amplitude image, okay? Here in the middle, in this panel B, we have the temperature. So we can see that the temperature inside the purple rectangle is completely strange. You know, what you actually see in white, these are negative temperatures. So negative temperatures during heating. So this is completely unfeasible. And on the bottom, we have the standard deviations of the measurements that also become very, very large inside that region affected by the device artifact. And on the right, we have the transient variations for the voxels that are marked on the figures. So for the pink voxel outside the region affected by the device artifact, we get a nice temperature variations. For the blue one or red, like at the edge of this region, no? We get a very noisy signal. You can see even negative temperatures. But when we go to the time series here at the bottom, panel E, we can see negative temperatures of minus 100 degrees. Okay? So it's completely impossible to use that very simple equation that was devised by Ishihara and his co-authors. Right? So the idea here was to solve the inverse problems, the inverse problem with by using temperatures in regions not affected by the device artifact, trying to recover the temperature in the whole region. Okay, it's particularly near the electrode where the highest temperatures take place and the highest thermal damage take place. Okay. So they did some experiments in France, actually by using a regular magnetic resonance machine, a clinical, like one of those that we can find in clinics. The experiment was done with a phantom made of agar gel, and the measurements were recorded for 20 seconds. Then heating was started, and we still took measurements for 250 seconds after the heating was turned off. Okay, and we they did experiments with 10, 15, and 20 watt. Okay. So we have the heat conduction problem. As for the interface between the electrode and the agar gel, we considered a thermal contact conductance that was modeled in that form, like 10 raised to some constant. The heat source G comes from the radio frequency problem that we had to solve for the whole region that is shown there on the right, and we also considered an electrical impedance at the interface between the electrode and the agar gel. So the parameters of interest for the model are the electric potential that are applied for the treatment, those constants that correspond to the electrical and contact parameters, and also the thermal conductivity and the volumetric heat capacity of the agar gel. Okay. And as for the measurements, we use the transient measurements taken at those voxels far from the region affected by the device artifact. But it's very important for the success of the estimation procedure that we also measure the input power, the input power that is applied to, for the treatment. Okay. So again, we assumed that the measurements are additive and correlated Gaussian with zero mean and a non-covariance matrix W, and we can show that in practice this is a very good assumption, and we use truncated Gaussian priors with mean mu and covariance matrix V for the prior, and here we can see the contributions of the likelihood and the prior. Okay. We first use the simulated measurements. We use those parameters to generate temperature variations with the direct problem, and we added random errors and used them as input for the solution of the inverse problem. We got very good estimates as shown on the right, and this is also shown here in this figure. On the top, we have the simulated measurements. On the bottom, the estimated temperatures. And the time variations of the voxels, they're shown on the right. And then we move to the actual experimental data. What we see in each row there is on the left, the temperature over one slice, and the right, the temperature variations of the marked voxels. Okay. So they are, this is what is slice 4, 5, and 6. So for the power of 10 watt, we get very small residuals. The residuals here are the difference between the estimated and the measured temperatures. Same thing for 15 watt, but when we go to 20 watt, we get some larger residuals there of the order minus 10 degrees centigrade. And this was caused by the presence of bubbles, okay? So the bubbles were created, vapor bubbles, that actually changed the susceptibility also. And this is another susceptibility artifact that creates some problems, okay? And here we have the validation at voxels that were not used for the solution of the inverse problem, okay? So these were voxels selected at different points, but their measurements were not used for the solution of the inverse problem. For 10 watt, the agreement between the experimental data and the estimated temperature is very good. Same thing for 15 watt. And then we again, for 20 watt, we get those very large differences between the estimated and the measured temperatures near the end of the heating process. And this on the right over there in panel C, this is not the same kind of figure as the slices. That figure there is a cross slices, okay? And along the direction of the magnetic field, and we can see in red and in blue a kind of dipole that in the temperature variations there go from plus to minus 10 degrees centigrade, and this is exactly the same kind of behavior that is observed with this bubble artifact. Okay, so we could not deal exactly with this data of 20 watt, and here the estimated parameters, but like which they were pretty much consistent with what we expected. Okay, so this basically concludes my presentation. I guess you have already seen this same picture in Renato's presentation. Okay, the one I had was not so good as the one that he has shown here, and we were talking yesterday about using AI. This was my only experience with AI. I tried to improve the picture with Microsoft Copilot and Microsoft and Google Gemini. You can see that. I mean, the colors are nice, everything, but these people don't look like us. And at least I like the one with Google Gemini because we are always smiley and no. But this figure is very meaningful to me. Okay, this was taken during the International Heat Transfer Conference in Korea in 1998. Dr. Ozisik and I, we were presenting our joint paper. Okay, it was part of the work of one of my first master students. So we were there in front of our poster, and what I can say is that besides my family, you know, my grandparents, my parents, my wife, and my children, these are the guys that have mostly influenced my whole life. Okay, and this is also very meaningful to me because it was the first international heat transfer conference that I have attended, and this year I'm organizing this same conference. You know, it's held every 4 years, and I have the honor to be the chairman of this conference, which is going to be held in Rio de Janeiro in August. Actually, Renato should be the chairman, but he has been too much involved with his duties with the Navy, so I'm in charge of this organization. So maybe I'll see some of you down there in Rio in August. Okay. So my concluding remarks. Professor Ozisik, he gave significant contributions to the general area of inverse problems, you know, with seminal works in the 70s and still until the day that he stopped working, and works on parameter and function estimation, in conduction, convection, radiation, and the works that are still very much cited today. You know? In 1989, I hit the jackpot 3 times. Okay? The first one, I got married. So the second one, I was working on my master thesis, and I was doing experiments and using a mathematical model for two-phase closed thermal siphons. And I was using a paper by Chen-Lin Tian, and he visited us like some months before my defense. And I approached him, I have shown him my results, and he said, okay, your results are very good. So this made me very comfortable to go to my defense, and also the committee was very much happy with the comments from Professor Tien, and this was before he was even the chancellor of Berkeley. And Professor Ozisik visited us down there for the defense of Niesel-Brun, for the Ph.D. defense of Niesel-Brun, and Renato Cotta. Thanks to Renato, like I met Professor Ozisik, and then I could come to work with him in 1990, and two other Brazilians were on the same boat, exactly at the same time, Rodrigo Guedes and Antonio Silva Neto. And I was quite lucky to be here when he was most active on inverse problems, and I had this great honor to be invited by him to write the first edition of the inverse heat transfer book when I graduated. And when going back, Cotta hosted me in his laboratory, where I have been there since 1994. So these guys, I'm really indebted to Professor Ozisik and to Professor Cotta for their positive influence on my career, actually, and if they influence somebody's career, there is also an influence on somebody's life. Okay. So finally, Professor Snifa, Ekad, Dr. Hassan Ozisik, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here and to present this talk. I would like also to thank the hospitality of NC State and the MA department, Dr. Henry Ware, thank you very much for arranging all the meetings on Wednesday. Appreciate your time for talking to me on Wednesday. Thank you very much also for inviting me yesterday for the advisory board meeting. I really enjoyed it, and these are some supporting agents for my work from the Brazilian government. So, well, thank you. Thanks very much.
All right, we have some time for questions. Anybody? I'd like the students. Anybody? No? Okay, you guys want to? Go ahead,
Very nice talk. Very nice talk. Should be on. Yeah, it's on. Oh, very nice talk. Whenever we talked in my lab a little bit during your visit, we had mentioned the idea of intense pulse light centering and everything, right? So your portion of your talk here, wherever you mentioned of photothermal agents and everything for cancer and everything, I feel like those can also be important for, let's say, hard to center materials, right? So if you were to embed those, let's say, within ceramic, maybe, and then apply the intense pulse light on that can locally increase the heat potentially to center those. Have you potentially looked at, I know you mostly looked at for bio and stuff here, have you also thought about it from more of a manufacturing point of view, photothermal dopants?
Yes, like we have never stopped working on, for example, the estimation of thermophysical properties of different materials, like orthotropic materials, and this has been continuously done by us and by many people too, and trying to use non-intrusive measurement techniques, trying to estimate thermophysical properties of liquid metals at very high temperatures, and this is also done together with some colleagues in France in the University of Lorient, Université Bretagne Sud, Philippe Lemasson and Thomas Pierre. We have always been doing works related to like classical mechanical engineering problems, And more recently, which is kind of related, but we to this talk and to your question, we are trying to estimate the thermophysical properties of fungal colonies, and the long-term objective is to try to detect fungal contamination before they can even be observed optically. But for that, we need to estimate the thermophysical properties to put on some modeling, and so we are still like in the very first stage of this long-term objective. Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. Different parts of the body have different material densities and material properties. When you look at it looking at a tumor or something like that, would the thermophysical properties be different based on which part of the body it is, and would that affect the whole analysis process, or you have to rethink every time you?
No, definitely. And not only the thermophysical properties, but one of the classical bioheat transfer problems was developed by Pennis in 1948. And it has a term that is related to the perfusion of the blood through the tissues. And of course, this cannot be applied near big vessels, but for like tissues, there is this perfusion coefficient, which varies a lot, you know, and it affects a lot the whole temperature field in the region. You know? And that's why the use of those Bayesian techniques, they are so important, because if we have some prior information for, let's say, known parameters, the uncertainty on the known parameters can be taken into account for the estimation of the real unknown parameters. But yeah, you're right. This is.
So could you use like some kind of a machine learning technique to estimate it based on some limited information at the beginning, some limited information at the end of the like, you know?
Yes, there are many people working on the use of machine learning techniques to speed up the direct problem calculations, to allow the use of those stochastic simulations based on Markov chain Monte Carlo methods to estimate for the solution of the inverse problem. And there are also some people working on the the inversion with the use of the like neural nets or something like this. Okay, so the direct inversion, if I could say that, of the data to recover unknown parameters, and this is not that bad, that difficult when the prior information for the parameters has a limited variance, because somehow you know where where are you walking on. Okay.
There are constraints even.
Exactly, given by those statistical distributions that are modeled in the prior. But if you have an unbounded prior, let's say, for example, that you don't know like an input heat flux, and you want to detect this input heat flux, this is a completely different ball game. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I got some stuff for you.
Thank
Hold
you.
on, before
Thank
we
you.
go. Can you hold
Thank
that?
you. Thank you.
Take it out so we can take a good picture. Jessica's packed it so I don't drop it.
Okay.
All right, I think Hakan, you need to be on the picture. So maybe you can drop it.
It's up here.
Put it here. This is to remember you gave the stick
Thank
lecture,
you.
but,
Thank you.
and then some MAE stuff, so you can
Thank you very much.
proudly
Thank
display
you.
your alumni thing.
Thank you. Okay.
Right here.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
Again,
you. Thank you very
let's
much.
thank
Okay.
Dr. Orlande again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, we do have a reception in in EB3, so if you want to hang out and
Thank
talk
you.
to us, talk to Dr. Orlande, they're over there.
Thank you very much.